All right, Meow. Hope you all had a good Halloween, a good weekend, that your Monday was about as well as it could be. We got to Erica in Mono Dark. We're gonna be fighting Erica. We're gonna be fighting Team Rocket in Game Corner, Pokemon Tower, Sylph Co, and I'd really like to get to Erica. Ultimately, it depends on how hard the fights between Now and Erica, Now and Sabrina are. There will be some crime coverage. There will be Pallas Cats per the usual. VOD friends, lurkers, thank you for stopping by. I also hope you're doing well. Gonna try to make this relatively painless as we push through this part of the game. If we get the Sabrina, the hard part starts tomorrow, because then it's Sabrina, weather routes, rematches. It's quite difficult. It really ramps up from here to that point. All right, very good. So it's Rillaboom, grassy terrain. It has grassy gliders as a priority move. It's gonna want to hit us with probably, well, let's see who my lead is. It very much wants to hit me with a fighting move. The idea here is we're just gonna one hit it and die, and that'll be fine. I think Houndoom's fast enough. I think a charcoal boosted flamethrower will do the trick. All right, go team. There you go, it's a bit better. All right, Erica. So it did stay in, which is interesting, because normally if the AI knows it's a kill, they swap out. Maybe it didn't have anything good to swap into. Who do I think this likely is? I feel like this is Meganium with the Giga Drain, because triage. It could also be Venusaur, because Sleep Powder and Earth Power. So I'm expecting either Venusaur or Meganium. All right, Weed Cat. So I kind of feel like it goes knockoff because it sees I have an item. It doesn't really have anything else that would be super effective. Like, I guess I'd take neutral damage from U-turn because fire's gonna offset. It also outspeeds everyone I have. Okay, so what was my answer to Weed Cat? Okay. Problem is, if it goes, it's not gonna do a lot of damage. All right, so do we go? No, we don't go that. I could go Bisharp, but the idea is we have Bisharp to deal with Meganium. Okay. This is 4 times weak to bugs, so we don't even bother. I don't remember who was for Meowscrat. I'm just gonna go with Peekaboo. Okay. Not a big deal. It is now dark. So we go... I messed that up. That's a reset. I needed to click first impression, not lunge. So... off to a rocky start, but that was fine. Obviously pretending for content. Also, where did my... This is actually mildly annoying. Huh. Oh, sorry, RJ. For some reason, my chat window was not present. So let me actually pop that out. Thank you for stopping by, RJ. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed your Halloween, etc. Right now, we're working on Erica and what's her face? Team Rocket, etc. I had to pop out the chat. I had a window dedicated to chat for OBS, and for some reason it decided not to show up, so I just had to pop out my Twitch chat. So I goofed the first try because I clicked the wrong button. So we're gonna do the same thing. Awesome. In comes Weed Cat. We go into Peekaboo. It goes for knockoff. We go first impression. This very likely kills. It does not kill. Holds on focus sash. I totally forgot. But it doesn't matter because we have Sucker Punch, so we kill. Okay, Meganium. I'm low HP, so it goes random move. And because it has triage, healing moves go first. So realistically, I want to get out. It could end up going Hidden Power Fire because random move. So I'm actually gonna go Drapion. Okay. We resist the Giga Drain. Sylvie Pixie, thank you for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a good Monday. We're taking on Erica and Mono Dark. Oh, for some reason I don't have a poison move. I think because I didn't expect Drapion to be in against Meganium. So we're gonna go for the Fire Fang. Glad to hear it. I woke up probably like 2 hours ago, so it hasn't been too bad. I've been watching coverage. Well, I've been watching VODs of the Letitia Stott trial. That's the woman who murdered her child, dumped the body 1,300 miles away, and then tried to plead insanity. She was found guilty. She's rotting in a cell for the rest of her natural life. We fucking love it. I was also watching a Lawyer You Know podcast where he had Lawyer Lee on. She's one of the lawyers that is attending the Delphi murder case in Delphi, Indiana. The gist of that is two girls were walking in like a railroad wooded area. They were approached by a man called Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy allegedly murdered them. The guy who is the defendant, his name's Richard Allen. He was like, yo, I happened to be there that day. And then they proceeded to basically bring him in, hold him in solitary confinement for 13 months in a row. And they were able to extract 61 confessions out of him because it turns out solitary, it's horrible for your mental state. So right off the jump, jury hears there's confessions. Well, this guy did it, so we can go home. And something else that is a huge problem is the fact that he's not being treated as if he has the presumption of innocence. The alternate defense that the defense was going to use regarding it being an Odinist cult killing due to how the bodies were arranged, objects that were placed there, etc., that was not allowed. So there's been a lot of overt bias if you've been following the case regarding motions, how the judge is leaning, how the prosecution is just barreling the case. It looks really bad. And no matter how you feel about someone who may be a child killer, they are still innocent until proven guilty. And it's not uncommon for jurors to be sequestered, aka isolated from the world, isolated from media. They're not allowed to talk about it, etc. But apparently in Indiana, jurors can talk about how they think the trial is going prior to the verdict being rendered. So if you get someone who's like, oh man, this Richard guy, he needs to rot in hell for what he did, I'm so convinced that he's guilty. And then you got jurors who are on the fence. Strong personality basically convinces them that he did it. And this is going to be a miscarriage of justice if he's found guilty. So I hate that. And I'm probably gonna do some crime coverage on the Delphi case. Okay, so let's see. I did not intend on Drapion being the solution for Meganium. I'm gonna go Home Claws. D-Gleam, not ideal. Yeah, so this is an oopsies. I forgot about the priority move. So we're gonna go into Bisharp. Ironhead. Ironhead. Okay, Venusaur. Who was my answer for Venusaur? I actually don't remember. Let's see. No. Oh, it was Malamar because of the psychic move. I'm glad to hear your day went well. So what are you up to now, Sylvie? How are the dogs? Okay, also, so yeah, this was meant to be for whatnot. Because I am low HP, it's gonna be random move. But I'm hoping it goes Sleep Powder. I eat my berry. I then hit it with a Psycho Cut or a Psychic. Oh, dinner. What are you gonna make for dinner? Hopefully the homework goes relatively well. I'm glad to hear dogs are doing well. We love that for them. All right, so Earth Power because random move. It's now gonna want to go Sleep Powder. I'm gonna go. Yep, that's fine. It's gonna want to click Sleep Powder again because it ate the berry. So I'm gonna swap Bisharp in to get sleeped. Well, it missed, so whatever. But I'm really slow, so there's no world where I'm gonna be able to go again. I needed the Mon to be put to sleep. We're gonna go First Impression. I think it's low enough to die. Thick Fat reduces how much ice and fire damage it takes. Someone has a Kevia berry. Not Kevia, Chilean. Yeah, this is for normal. Yep. So it took a few tries. I fucked that up, but we got there. So now we get some more Mon, we get a bunch of moves, we get to start doing prep for Team Rocket. Chicken and rice sounds real good. I love that. Okay, garlic butter rice, very nice. Yeah, Lord willing, it goes well. Are you making this from scratch? Is this something that's like kinda semi-prepared? All right, so right off the jump, we know it's going to be Bad Dreams Hypno under Aerodactyl. We want to fake out the Aerodactyl so it doesn't go first, so we break Sash. We then want to kill Hypno with a bug move because it's holding a Dark Berry. Okay. Level cap is 47. Now we get a bunch more moves, bunch more Pokemon. We save. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yeah, hopefully it goes well. I do a lot of my cooking either in the crock pot, on the stovetop via like the oven. I don't use the oven proper a lot because it takes a minute to heat up. Let's see. So yeah, this is the guy we need to talk to. We don't talk to him yet because I actually need to get the team ready. I mean, I suspect you'll probably be fine with it. And then if this recipe works out, you can add it to your, kind of. So I had looked up ramen recipes and I've looked up like soup recipes in the past. I've actually made ramen from scratch in the past and it didn't turn out as well as I would have liked. So in the past I had also, you know, oh, I'll just make ramen out of the little cup, whatever, and that's a thing. But then I'm like, you know what? What if I put that in the crock pot and then add a bunch of stuff? And it's worked out well. I definitely prefer the chicken to the beef. I'm gonna do pork ramen this week. I bought some pork tenderloin. I have like 2 cups of pork tonkatsu ramen. I'm going to either add fried egg at the end or I'm gonna add bacon because I really want the savoriness of the bacon since there's not much fat in the pork tenderloin, and then I'll offset how savory it is with pickles. Yes, thank you. And I would say it is relatively good. It's definitely worth the money. because pork tenderloin is cheap. Each thing of ramen's like $3 or $4. The bacon's gonna be like $8. We already have eggs. Vegetables aren't that expensive. And then it gives me like 3 large meals. So that's pretty handy. And while proper ramen is good, there's not a lot of good ramen places in the area, and it's very expensive. Yes, RJ, I've made cookie soup in the past, but with the issues stemming from allergies and such, I don't go out of my way to make cookie soup a lot. I'll probably do cookie soup for the, for Christmas. For the uninitiated, cookie soup consists of melted ice cream that is hot, and then a bunch of cookies that are crumbled up, and it needs to be a soupy consistency. Yeah, it's a bit of a meme from a Discord that RJ and I are in for MechWarrior, but it's pretty tasty. It's definitely not something I recommend the average person to go out of their way to have, especially if they're leaning towards being diabetic, because it's way too much sugar. So we're gonna grab all our TMs, and we're gonna see what mon we're getting from the tutor. We are gonna grab the Beldums, so we have the ability to get Focus Sash, Assault Vest, and something else. I'm not sure how many Darkmon there are that I can actually use. I think I might be able to get a Hydreigon, but I'm not too sure about that. I mean, mine wasn't like steaming hot. When I have ice cream, I normally melt it anyways because it hurts my teeth. So I like took a pint of ice cream and melted it for like 40 seconds in the microwave, then grabbed some cookies that I thought would go well with it and crumbled it in. And yeah, maybe your husband will like it. Find an ice cream he likes, find some cookies he likes. Could be good. Okay, so let's see. Like, I think when I did it, I did like a vanilla base, and then I used snickerdoodles or something and crumbled it up. Yeah, okay, so let's see, what do we have? So I know we want the Beldum, mainly for the items. It occurs to me, since I am doing dark, I can technically use Tyrantrum. So that's actually really cool. I used to love chocolate chip cookies, but as I got older, allergies and such, so I more or less have to avoid a lot of the things I'm allergic to, and it's a pain because it's actually an immune system disorder. But a lot of times when I'm having cookies, it's basically like snickerdoodles, it's sugar cookies. So yeah, we absolutely can use the Larvitar, so we're gonna grab... I don't know what shiny Larvitar looks like. I think it's gold, so I'm not gonna get that. Okay. What else do we have? We have... Okay, let's see. No. Ah, Dino, okay. The shiny of it is green and purple, sadly, so I do not love that. Like, the purple's fine, but that green is it's a real no thank you. Yeah, exactly. It's unpleasant. It's a real shame. Yes. I think that's realistically all of them. Let's see. It is. Yeah, like, I've seen some green shinies that it's like an emerald green. It's a really pleasing green, but then far too many of them, like you said, neon, radiation, or like vomit green, you know, just, it's a really unpleasant, it's an assault on the eyes. Save because it's been a minute. We're also gonna get a few Pallas Cat videos in because they are important. I saw one the other day that someone took of Asayama Zoo, I think. It's the children's zoo in Hokkaido, Japan, with Grusha being very adorable. We love that for us because Grusha is such a handsome boy his name means pear in Russian, because he was one of the Russian Meownwell that I believe were sent to Japan. So let me pull this up. All right. I need to find a way to pull it up without basically doxing myself, you know? So I think I'm gonna find it in the Discord instead. Let's see. Okay, it's not that one. It was this one. Okay, good. We did find one. All right, so let's pull this up real quick. No. All right, yep, that works. And then this is from the Asayama Zoo official Twitter account. He's such a beautiful boy. It's significantly colder up in the north of Japan, where Grusha lives, so that's a lot more ideal. It's a lot closer to their natural environment. I'm not sure when it will start snowing. I don't know how recent this video is, but I suspect Grusha will be very pleased once it's actively snowing. I love the big sniffs. You can also see that there's no glass between the bars. So if someone were inclined, they could technically try to pet him. I mean, they'd lose their hand, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. It's actually kind of fun seeing them in real time because they have such jerky and staccato movement. It almost seems like it's like they're robotic, you know, or the footage is sped up. Doing some lems, doing a tail twitch. I really like the his goldish amber eyes. It reminds me of Nar, who also has eyes that color. He always looks so serious, you know. Oh, I need to update my badge counter. I'll do that now while this is going. Yeah, exactly. A lot of them look pretty serious. They will do the occasional silly, though. Polly's known for being silly. I think I've seen a few rare sillies from Grusha before, but usually not. All right, let's deal with them. Because no... hold on. Moderation action. Bah. There it is. In before it doesn't let me do it from here. Let's see. There we go. Problem solved. Yeah, no. All right, so yeah, Grush, such a silly boy. I love the white chin fluff. A lot of them have it. Sometimes their chest will be like blackish gray, whereas with Grusha's from this side at least, it's more of a burlappy brownish gray. Also, like Nar, for example, the top of his head is black, and it reminds me of the Tibetan Meownwell. At least one of them has a really dark head. And that's probably from like phenotypes, recessive traits in the bloodline, much like Lev's family line having the dent in the middle of the head, whereas the top of Bull's head is round. All right, let me pull up at least 2 more videos. That one's a little too long. I'm trying to find ones that are more digestible. This is a fun one. I think it's Figa, or it may be one of the, Figa is one of the two, baby Meownwell from the Uno Zoo in Japan. It could also be one of the Kanji 4, which would be the kittens that were born this year at the Nasu Animal Kingdom in Japan. Doing a heckin' window wiping. It's very funny. And then this is, Bono Mamire 420 on Twitter. I probably butchered that handle, but it's okay. Let's see. I also love when they stand on their hind legs like that. They get very long. Kind of reminds me of a relatively stout meerkat, you know? Yeah, exactly. Free window cleaning. Apparently there's also a wink at the end, which we love a good wink. Woo! Oh, and that tail reminds me of a raccoon every time I see the long striped tail. Yeah, absolutely adorable. Yellowish, brownish eyes. The orange in their coat. Big fan of it. Also some stripes on the legs, which you don't always get to see. Most of the time, the stripes will only be on the tail, and then they'll completely end up fading away. Though you have Princessa, she's a Finnish Meownwell that lives in Czechia. And even several years old, I think now at this point, she still has stripes predominantly through her body. We'll do one more. All right, so let's find one more good one. No. Oh no, I don't wanna feel sad. Oh, this is Nar. He's getting fed. You'll also be able to see the top of his head. Yeah, kind of. Some of them absolutely do look like they could be tigers with their stripes. And then you have the Iranian Meownwell that are orange, like absolutely orange. Let me see if we can find one of those real quick. There we go. Since we were talking about them looking like Garfield the other day. Oh, yeah, absolutely. When Polly gets hungry, she could absolutely could pass as a voracious beast, as it were. But yeah, big fan of the Lausanne. This is predominantly the Iranian Meownwell because there's not really snow there, so they need to blend in with the sand. And now let me pull up the actual Nar video. And this is from Alpaca Zaman on Twitter. You can tell it's Nar because he's got the really dark head and he has perpetual sad boy hours. I feel so bad for him. His own kittens don't recognize him and he's been away from his wife for months. Poor man. Free my boy Nar. Nar did nothing wrong. You can also tell that he's in his summer coat because A, there's no snow and he's significantly leaner. And I love the white socks. They don't always have white socks. Sometimes it looks like they have brown socks with brown boots. But he's very much got the white socks going on. It's a fashion choice. Such a good boy. All right, now we're gonna, well, let me at least pull that one off so we can use it later. Let's get on the upcoming 4 Team Rocket battles. 3 double battles in Giovanni. I'm scared because I know Fighting Dunks on Dark And Power Up Punch is going to be at least 2 times effective. Parental Bond, major damage. I am not looking forward to it in the slightest. So yeah, we're going to use a Bug to kill Hypno. We're going to use Fake Out into something else for Aerodactyl. We're going to use Poison, something for Grand Bull. We are going to probably find a way to get rid of the Flame Orb so it doesn't get Guts Boosted Facade. Yeah, they were not fun fights. And, like, I have answers to almost all of Giovanni. Right now, the things I'm scared of most is not being able to stop the substitute from Orthworm. And, dealing with both Kangaskhan and Infernape. I'm probably gonna lead with a really fast fire type that's special for Nidoking. I'll hold an air balloon. I'll go ground move. I hope that baits the Orthworm. The problem is it could also bait the Honchkrow. But if it baits the Orthworm, then I can hit it with like a charcoal boosted flamethrower or just flamethrower in general. And that will hopefully do enough damage that it doesn't have the ability to do Shed Tail. It's been a minute, so let's save. Don't want to have to redo anything if it can be helped. I already have them all, so it's more or less a non-issue. All right. I'm not throwing shade at you, and I'm sorry if it came across that way. So let's see. Malamar's not bad, but I don't think it's gonna help me here. Bisharp, 4 times the fighting, not something I want to mess with. I think we do keep the Houndoom. We're not gonna keep the Drapion. We're probably not gonna keep the Muck. All right, let's see. So I might bring in Luxray, because I think by now I have access to a priority move. Because I know I'm never gonna outspeed the what's his face, you know. I also have to remember what dark types have Fake Out, aside from Obstagoon, I think. Oh right, Grimmsnarl. Okay, I can do that. We'll use Grimmsnarl then. All right, so withdraw. Let's see who else can get it though. All right, Dark. Fake Out. Right, the Meowth. Okay. So, Sneasler isn't bad. More Pico. Maybe? Let's see if it actually learns it or if it's like from leveling. From like an egg tutor. So no Zippy Zap for me. Maybe Luxray will get it. Let's see. Alright, so sadly, only more Pico. Which I mean isn't the worst thing in the world. It's more of a boo, you know? Okay. Alright, so let's see. We absolutely want Luxray. We're gonna use Goofus for the Fake Out. That reminds me, I never got U-turn. So I eventually do need to fight Bugsy, and that's gonna be miserable because he has a Mega Sizor and he leads with like a level 55 Cleavor if you don't fight him before beating Surge. We wanted a Poison type because we want to deal with Grand Bull. So I think that was going to be Stunky. We'll want to probably hold a Choppleberry, aka a Chipotle Berry. What was the last one? We can't do Sableye yet because we sadly don't have the scope. Maybe Jester. Actually, no, I will use Jester. Let's see, what does this look like? So we lead with... We lead with Jester and Peekaboo. Let's get everyone's levels where they need to be. Alright, so how are we gonna do this exactly? So we have Fake Out. Icy Wind is gonna need to go. It won't be Stab, which is kind of an issue, because believe it or not, what's his face? Aerodactyl can take a good bit of damage. Okay, so if not that, we have Peekaboo, which is fine. Sucker Punch, the first impression is gonna be huge. Okay. Okay, so... What does Arrow have again? Let's check. I probably have to hold a Flying Berry. It could... Well, actually, no, I'm gonna do a Rock Berry because it's gonna go Rock Slide. So that actually makes sense. That's, Charty. We have Fake Out, and then our next biggest one would probably be... Let's see. Because we want it to be affected by Technician, you know? I could have sworn I had Water Pulse. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I mean, it's good that it can learn Thunderbolt, but... I mean, no, because it's not going to be affected. Alright, so it looks like I'm kind of stuck with that. Maybe I missed something. I'm gonna give a taunt just so I have the coverage. We're going to Nyx Play Rough. Oh, I know what I can do. Right. Wait, no, because Silphco. I forgot I have to actually be able to go to Silphco to get Hidden Power. Okay. We absolutely take Crunch now over Bite. Tri-Fangs are always useful. Stanky is meant to deal with Gramble. I think I am gonna keep Sucker Punch just so I have some utility. I'm going to remove... I'm gonna remove Flamethrower. I think I can also get Scorching Sands, maybe? Actually, no, I am gonna keep Flamethrower. I'm gonna get rid of Acid Spray. I'm gonna do Toxic into Venoshock. And then we wanna hold a Chipotle Berry because I'm expecting Drain Punch from, what's-his-face, from the Gramble. Okay, we're actively not using Houndoom in this fight, so that gives me a redundancy to deal with what's-his-face, the Obstagoon. Duskstone, because we already used Water Urshifu in another run, and this is Mono Dark anyways. Let's see. We are gonna go Bulk Up. We are gonna keep Rock Smash for now. We're gonna grab Iron Head for coverage. Because Obstagoon is 4 times weak to fighting, since it's Dark Normal. I have to actually see if I have a Dust Stone. I may not. I know I bought one, but if I didn't buy another, then that's the issue. So let's go grab that real quick. It's also been a minute, so we're gonna save. Constantly save. All right, 4. Thank you. Is there anything else you can learn before we... Okay, no. Because Dynamic Punch, Dynamic Punch is basically never hitting. Unless I add, like, no guard. Alright, what do we see now? Sucker Punch, absolutely. Over, I think, this. We need to make sure we're fast enough to get out ahead of Obstagoon, because we don't want Facade. Okay, I'm gonna go speed up just in case there's shenanigans. Because it wouldn't be the first time there was shenanigans in a fight. Like, the calcs are great, but sometimes they are not right. So for example, in minimum grind mode, only one fight has a Mon with EVs. Yet there are several fights where the Mon will be holding monster energy, which makes its highest stat go up. And the only reason why it's considered a highest stat is because there's 252 EVs in it. So for example, there's a fight where you go up against one of the Paradox Mon, and it has a higher attack and defense than speed. Yet, even in minimum grind mode, the highest stat that the booster energy affects is speed. And then you end up getting outsped, despite it being minimum grind mode, and it not being the highest stat. It was very annoying. Once I realized that, I'm like, oh, well, we have to change how we do this fight because it doesn't fucking work. And if you're wondering, the only fight in minimum grind mode where there's EVs is the Ghost Tower Aeolin Marowak mini boss with Omni Boost, Bone Zone Thick Club, and then I believe it has like speed EVs and HP EVs because the thing is horribly slow. It's very lame. I think I am gonna get rid of one of the fangs for this fight. I think I can get rid of Fire Fang. Alright, so Jester will fake out probably into... Actually, no. I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Feline Meowis. We're gonna get the fake out to break the sash, then we're gonna have a boosted power gem because Feline Prowess doubles your special attack. It's basically huge power. I'm actually gonna nix the Icy Wind entirely. Hell yeah. That's understandable, Pixie. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for what's more or less gonna be lurking. I appreciate it. And I hope the chicken turns out well and you don't burn down the house. Dream Patch to give Jester Feline Prowess. We are going to also give it a Heartstone because we want to make absolutely certain that Power Gem kills. Alright. Charty Berry We first impression the Hypno. That's fine. We're probably gonna be going Chipotle Berry because fighting. We're gonna go Citrus for generic healing. If for some wacky, wild, and crazy reason I'm actually no, that won't save me. I was thinking if I have to go against a Gramble, it'd be fine. But Dark Fighting is 4 times weak to Fairy. So we more or less just have to do major damage, you know? We'll go Shell Bell. Okay. I think we can make this work. We're gonna save. And we're gonna take him on. Go team. Alright. Fake out, that's fine. First impression, I believe first impression kills. I know Hypno's bulky, but he was holding a Dark Berry. Alright, so good. Obstagoon is scary. We Power Gem because we don't want to deal with any flinching from Aerodactyl. We go Lunge on the Obstagoon. No flinch. One no flinch. We love that. It wasn't enough damage. I hate that. I really thought it would be enough. And that's with it being a thing. So Jester's gonna be outsped. We're gonna go against that. We're gonna Sucker Punch the Obstagoon. Actually, no. Let me think about this. We go Power Gem the Obstagoon. We Sucker Punch the Aerodactyl. There we go. I think this will be enough. Yes, huge. Okay, Gramble with the Intimidate. I am faster, but I don't have anything for this. So I'm gonna pivot into Stanky. I am going to... Peekaboo's gonna swap out into Goofus. Okay, so it's not super effective because of the poison. I made that was a mistake on my part. So we'll Toxic, we'll Fake Out. Okay, I forgot about the Lumberry. That's completely my fault. I'm gonna Toxic again. I'm going to Drinkus. Because fighting Fairy is still weak to Fairy. The same thing happens with Iron Valiant. Now we Venoshock, and I Sucker Punch. Alright, one down. We have 2 more double battles. We're going to save real quick, and I'm going to do a quick Breb. Then we're going to look at some of the Delphi case. Various coverage of it. Like, these fights can be difficult, but I don't have to focus super hard until we get to Giovanni. All right, so let's see what do we have on Delphi. Yeah, regardless of how you feel about, you know, someone who's allegedly a child killer, at the end of the day, we all have a presumption of innocence in the US, and keeping Richard Allen in solitary confinement for 13 months straight, it's been documented that it does not take long for degradation within the mind and just the mental health of someone who's kept in solitary. To say nothing of someone who's been kept in solitary for 13 months straight, who's only let out, like, I think 3 times a month for an hour. It's heinous. And everyone be like, Lamau, who cares, child killer, he did it, we got the guy, he confessed 61 times. There's more to it than that. But the fact that the cases have been very heavily leaning in the favor of the prosecution, with the judge banning the Odinism defense, with the judge being really snippy and making the defense have to really walk on eggshells compared to the prosecutor just being allowed to more or less do whatever the fuck they want, it does not sit well with me. So let's pull up some of the Delphi. I don't think I have time to watch the full video that I was watching of lawyer, you know, breaking down the case with one of the lawyers who's actually sitting in and watching. So let's just pull up Delphi and see what we get. I actually want to find one where it's a lawyer talking about it. Actually, I think he's covered Delphi. So let's see what he thinks about it. He being Peter Tragos of Lawyer You Know. I like having crime coverage from actual lawyers rather than talking heads, because it sheds insight from their experience. They have a unique perspective, which I think is really nice. So let me see if we can find something. So then next fight's gonna be the truant slacking, the neutralizing gas, wheezing. You kill the wheezing on the first turn, so you don't have to worry about truant being disabled by neutralizing gas. Okay, let's go with this one. So this is gonna be a video that Peter Tragos did on the Delphi case in Indiana. He did it 5 days ago. It's from what I remember from watching the video interview he did today with lawyer Lee, the Odinism defense is still not being allowed, despite possible evidence opening the door to allow it. So opening the door would be, okay, here is a set of facts that cannot be entered. But then if something comes up that is able to be proven as opening the door to it, so say the one of the parties, be it the prosecution or the defense, in their line of questioning, it includes something that may pertain to it. It's like, well, now they opened the door. They talked about this thing that we agreed wasn't gonna come in, and we need to be able to, you know, talk about that, because they're more or less making baseless claims about it. And from what I understand, the Odinism defense was not allowed, and the new evidence has not, as of today, been able to open the door on that defense being allowed. The Odinism defense being, this is a ritual killing committed by a cult that is steeped in Odinism, the Norse gods, etc. It was a ritualistic killing. The bodies were placed in a certain position. There were certain objects there. Even some of the wounds may have been ritualistic, and it was more than one person. Versus what the state's saying, one guy did this, and he confessed 61 times, so let's just put him away forever, you know? Let me just make this smaller now that we have a video.
To another episode here on the Lawyer You Know. We're going to be talking about the
I cover Lawyer You Know often. I really like his coverage. I think he does his best to stay fair, aware of his biases, because no one can be unbiased. The key is to not let your biases more or less get in the way of the truth.
And facts, and we'll kind of talk about why it's so important. Those details are so important, but the main focus of today's video is going to be on the defense's second attempt to get the Odinism defense in and to get the third-party culprit defense, meaning pointing the finger at somebody else. It wasn't Richard Allen. It was somebody or multiple other people, which the judge would not let them argue at this point, which is kind of wild to start with. But now they say even more evidence has come out during trial, and they cite it in their motion.
Another thing that really sucks about this case, too, is it's not really open to the public. So in today's interview that Lawyer You Know did with Lawyer Lee, she was talking about how she got to line up to get into the courtroom at 3 a.m. and she still didn't get in because there's only 24 seats. And when I think about justice, I think about transparency. I think about people being able to see what's going on. I think about the kangaroo trials in authoritarian countries where the guilt's already predetermined and it's a sham. It's a show trial. And you have a case like Sarah Boone or any case in Florida where it's super open to the public thanks to the sunshine laws and you're allowed to talk about it and cameras are allowed in, versus a case like this where no cameras are allowed and there's only 24 seats. The judge goes out of their way to make it so it's incredibly hard to get any information and transparency out, and that does not sit well with me.
We're going to read that motion together. We're going to see what that new evidence is and see where we think this should go, and of course what we think will actually happen in this case. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoy...
Alright, so yeah, Tragos Law, Peter Tragos and his father, they're out of Florida.
Just kidding, I played the outro on accident, so we're not done yet. We're not done yet, we've actually just begun. So, hit the like button for the outro. You guys got a little sneak peek of the outro that's coming later. But, I'm gonna start with the Odinism and the third-party culprit stuff, and then we'll talk about the conditions and the confessions and the interrogations at the end, because it kind of plays together in how this case is being presented and what the jury is seeing. And no matter how everything seems stacked against Richard Allen at this point, the stuff that is objective, right? Like a video of this interrogation in the beginning of the case where he denies,
all right, let's see how we're going to do this.
From all accounts, does not look like a guilty man as he sits there in the chair. We don't always know that, right? Guilty people don't always look the same. But
all right. No.
That objective evidence where you can
maybe
talk about it, you can try to spin it all you want.
No.
They need to watch. The jury needs to watch with their own eyes how the cops treat Richard Allen, how Richard Allen treats the cops, how the cops treat Richard Allen's wife, a man presumed innocent, but you can tell they don't care about that.
They don't fucking care.
And in the prison system, as he sat there as an innocent man, we're going to get to that at the end. But I want to start with this motion, which I was tagged in Matt Blanc Inc.'s Twitter post. And this is kind of the cleanest, easiest version I got it. I don't have these documents myself. I just got it.
I mean, I am faster, but it's like,
dealing with all sorts
I
of
think we're gonna use Bisharp. Bisharp with a Choppleberry.
I'll see it and follow it together. We can get some
maybe
analysis here.
Let's see.
Here we go. the accused's second motion to admit evidence of Odinism/Norse paganism / ritualistic killing, and also motion to admit evidence concerning Elvis Fields and Brad Holder as third-party suspects. So
we're gonna fake out the slacking, and then we're gonna kill the G-Weezing.
And we looked at it together, and this was kind of a mind-blowing thing when it first happened. I remember when we talked about it, everybody was like, holy crap, this is wild. If anybody's asking what Odinism is, the only thing I know about Odinism is, yes, Sleuthy said you know where to find the PDFs. I'm assuming you mean you would send me them. I'm sure you would send me them, and I appreciate it so much. Honestly, I didn't even have time to fully go through that process like I normally do. Somebody tagged me in this. I saw it. I was like, holy crap. Mine feels like it's blowing again. But in the future, I will reach out to you, and I appreciate everything you've done on this case, and always in the comments.
Actually, no, we'll go. What's it called?
So Odinism, my only experience with Odinism
Twisted Spoon. There you go. For more psychic damage.
I don't mean this is a joke. Like, it is literally the Viking shows, right? The Viking shows and the
probably
Last Kingdom, and they worship Odin. Okay, that's really all I know. I guess there might be some like white supremacy stuff to it. I don't know like what Odinists believe today.
And I don't either.
I know is
all right. Let's see.
Based on the experts that the defense has, there are some like sacrificial elements to it.
Ritualistic.
And that's the connection they are trying to give. Okay? And what's interesting about this, right, is the Odinism part of it doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't Richard Allen. Now, I think his defense attorneys think that if they can prove the Odinism is a part, then they can prove it's not Richard Allen because some of the third-party suspects are.
We'll grab Sneasler. I can use this for the.
It's kind of like a two-step process.
What's it called?
Which is even more interesting.
The Crowbat.
As to why the judge at first would not let this in. As a criminal defense attorney on my side, okay, I don't know who did this, right? I don't know if it was Richard Allen. I don't know if it wasn't Richard Allen. So we'll start with that, right? But who did it is kind of a secondary question to, can the state actually prove it? And part of the state actually proving it is, this is the guy who did it, meaning nobody else did it. So if the defense has evidence that somebody else did it,
we're gonna grab Weedcat. I can go Protean, play rough.
Now, are they allowed to say it was a man on the moon that did this? Usually not. Usually it has to be a reasonable inference from the evidence that you have to be able to point the finger at somebody else. But
we'll also grab
judges having kind of a more liberal leeway in protecting defendants' rights will say, if you want to say it was the man on the moon, go ahead and make the argument that it was the man on the moon.
Okay, so we want to lead with
jurors aren't stupid. They're not going to be like,
these two.
This must have been the man on the moon. Let's say this guy's not guilty. So from the perspective of not allowing this stuff in, blocking this stuff from coming in,
I think we stick with Citrus Berry.
I just don't get it. Like, what are we scared of?
They're scared of it actually being a substantial defense.
Trick the jury.
Yeah.
But if you have enough evidence and you have a guy confessing, right, you should be pretty confident in your case.
Yeah.
If
and that was something that Peter Tragos brought up, I think 2 weeks ago, when he interviewed someone else about Delphi, and it was posturing more or less, if you feel confident in your case, if you got this, you got the DNA evidence, you got the confessions, you got the firearm ballistics, why is this all super hush-hush? Why are you making it incredibly difficult for any level of transparency? Why are you making it hard for anyone to report on this,
You have all of the cards, and you have the decision to bring a case or not bring a case, and you choose to bring a case, meaning you're confident you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
What's the deal?
Because it was Richard Allen, and only his bullet was found there, and only he confessed. Sure, talk about Elvis and Brad all you want. At the end of the day, they didn't confess. Nothing connects them to the crime scene. This is just pure conjecture for the defense. That's what the state should argue, and we see that happen in trials all the time. It's just, it's not a good feeling for me, right? If you want to call people conspiracy theorists that think the Odinist stuff is legit, or think all of this, the state is stepping on Richard Allen's rights, if you want to call that conspiracy theorists and stuff, fine, but this doesn't help.
Exactly.
Closing the doors, no cameras, gag orders, and then not allowing the defense to make very normal.
It's a problem.
Like stuff is far from normal, but third-party culprit defense, like that's very normal. If the defense has reasonable evidence that they can point to this, which we're going to read through this motion now, and if you can't see it, somebody said it's small. I'm going to read every word, so don't worry about that.
All right.
But let's get into
Masquerada, no Night Slash.
With the police officer that
we go Protean because it's a very useful ability.
Information and a lot of
no, not that.
To these guys in the case. Well, even more has come out since then, and that's what we're going to read through in this motion today.
All right, there we go. Very good.
Accused Richard Allen by and through counsel and moves this court to admit certain evidence that this court thus far has prevented.
I shard for priority.
Pursuant to its September 4th, 2024
Keep home clause.
State of Indiana, April 29, 2024, motion in support of said motion, the defense states as follows.
Keep punishment.
2024. So that's in trial.
Punishment's going to be useful for a certain fight coming up.
The defense has previously filed this motion to admit evidence of Odinism / Norse paganism ritualistic killing. Since that motion was filed, additional evidence has been listed through testimony.
Gotcha.
Actually, what we read was not this first motion. It was like the Franks.
Yet another Dust Stone
motion. Same stuff. Since that motion was filed, additional evidence has been elicited through testimony and other evidence that further open the door to the admission of Odinism, Norse paganism / ritualistic killing. So I want to pause there. If you remember, if any of you guys watched, was it just Monday?
Very good. No Dark Pulse.
John's sitting back there, so if I'm talking to somebody in here, that's what it is. I can't believe it was only 2 days ago. It seems like a lot longer ago than that. But just a couple days ago, Andrea and I were talking about this, and she said in Indiana, the judge will take this up again, and the defense can ask for it again. So she was a fortune teller on Monday because she even said, it seems like it's
no
going
fake
in that
out.
direction, and
Not yet. Boo.
The defense's second request. And not only are they just requesting it again, because she said at certain times, like, there may be enough evidence, you can't mention it in opening, but if you ask me again later, maybe I'll let you talk about it in the trial, right? Well, they're doing that, but they're also saying more evidence has come out in trial to add to everything they had pre-trial. Since October 23rd, the motion was filed. Additional evidence has been elicited through testimony and other evidence that opened the door for the defense to bring in evidence of third-party suspects.
Poison jab isn't bad. I may grab that.
Additional evidence admitted during trial that supports the introduction of Odinism / Norse paganism / ritualistic killing evidence. So this is evidence we didn't know about before. Maybe the defense did know some, didn't know how it was going to come out, but now that it's come before the jury, it's incredibly important because the judge can do a lot of things, and a lot of things happen, especially in civil cases where, okay, this side, you're not going to talk about this, and because you're not going to talk about this, you're not going to talk about that either. So if you don't talk about that, they can't talk about this, but if you talk about this, they can talk about that. So that may be confusing, but
I believe that is similar to quote unquote foundation, where you want to introduce, you want to talk about something, but you can't just do it out of nowhere. It wouldn't make sense if out of the blue I started talking about like the digestive system of elephants, assuming we've already been talking about elephants and that we're both familiar with elephants, etc. So the defense really wants this third-party Odinism defense in, and sadly the judge was like, no. I know from the lawyerly interview that Peter Tragos did today on his channel that it's still not coming in. I hope it does come in, because it would be similar to if the judge in the Sarah Boone trial was like, no, you don't get to argue battered spouse. And the only defense would then be is, well, I did it not intentionally.
A judge can do a lot of carving out prior to trial, but once something becomes an issue before the jury, and the jury hears something and they're considering something, now we've got a different ballgame. Now we got to make sure it's fair, it's complete, the jury is not being misled.
I think we can make this work.
Once evidence starts coming out before the jury. David Reese says this version of Odinism is a group of white supremacist traditional Odinists don't practice human sacrifice. Okay, that's a great
yeah, I did not know that.
Thank you. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if David's right or wrong. I've heard different explanations.
We're too low level, so sadly no flower trick yet.
Shows.
All right, let's see. Keep that. Oh yeah, we can make that work.
On Wednesday, October 23rd, forensic pathologist Core testified that possibly 2, possibly 3, possibly 4 instruments were used to cut Abby and Libby. That in his autopsy report, Dr. Core believed that some cuts may have involved the use of a serrated instrument, other cuts may have involved the use of a non-serrated instrument.
We have to fight him, sadly. Like, it's just gonna happen.
Was involved in these killings. So that we can track. These arguments are
fake out.
Going to stack on top of each other, which is different than inference
Weevil.
stacking. You're not allowed to inference stack. We'll talk about it another time, but you can stack evidence on top of each other and get to a certain point.
Urshifu.
He is saying at this point, evidence has come before the jury that it's possible this was more than one person. Now, it seems like a lot of this stuff came out on the cross. But once evidence comes before the jury that this could have been more than one person, and the defense has a group of 2 people that they think committed this crime, now we're starting to track, and they should be able to provide the jury with why they think it was 2 people.
Boo.
And there's going to be more evidence.
I was really thinking that would kill.
Multiple types
it did
of
not.
blades. That's why they think it was 2 people. That's number 1. So as we think
save again, it's been a minute.
It's 2 people. They're saying that's enough evidence, Judge, for us to get to. These are the 2 people who did it.
Fake out into play rough.
And they should be able to put that in front of the jury.
Into swap out. Into Urshifu.
Dr. Core believed that some cuts may have involved. Oh, sorry, I already read that. There was testimony.
There
Dr. Core backtracked somewhat, but still did not exclude the possibility that the injuries to Abby and Libby were caused by both a serrated and non-serrated instrument. Also,
and yeah, anything that can help bolster the defense is case of it had to be third party. This is not feasible for one person to do within a 19-minute time frame. The 19-minute time frame being there was last movement of a phone that someone had that they fell on top of. Then it started moving again. So it's more or less to be like, this 19 minutes is a timeline. 19 minutes is not going to be enough for one person to stage an elaborate crime scene, do what they did, and then get on with it, you know? But if they're not allowed to, mention the third party, then they can't really be like, well, this is why or how it happened, and they're more or less making the defense fight with their both arms behind their backs, one leg missing, and a blindfold.
Since the trial began, the prosecution admitted certain crime scene photographs into evidence, including photographs of the crime scene in which the sticks on the girls were clearly visible to the jury, allowing the defense to ask questions concerning the sticks on the girls. Any competent trial lawyer would ask a variety of questions concerning the unusual way that the sticks were placed on the victims, and it would be ineffective for the trial lawyer to not ask questions concerning the sticks placed on the victims. On Saturday, October 25th, because yes, they're having court on Saturday, Lieutenant Jerry Holman from the Indiana State Police testified to the following. On cross-examination, Lieutenant Holman testified that it was
fake out
that the 6 branches found on the girls were used by the killer to conceal their bodies.
Malamar.
And we heard from Andrea, based on the way the pictures look to her on our podcast again, she
into
said, doesn't look at all like
Weevil.
how you would try to conceal somebody. There's much better places and much better shrubbery to use to try and cover up or conceal
shrubbery
than what they did with these stick placements. That's her perception. Maybe a juror would see it differently, but very clear. Holman testified to that effect. On redirect, meaning the prosecutor asking questions, the clearly asked Holman if another reason the sticks/branches were found on the girls was something called an undoing. Lieutenant Holman responded, yes. Through Dr.
Yes, shrubbery.
That it is feasible that
RJ, are you doing well? How's the job search? And how's the headphone search?
Dr. Perlmutter testified on August 1st, 2024. So whenever he mentions August or something before, these are different hearings they've had that, again, no cameras were there, but hearings that they've had where they've testified about this stuff, and we've gotten more background on Odinism in this defense. Knives are a classic sign of Odinist Norse paganism culture, and that knives are classically used in ritualistic killings. So here's what I'll say about that.
Awesome. I love that for you. I hope the job doesn't blow. And may you do well at that job.
I think that is a point to be made and something you can stack on.
And I'm sorry to hear about the headphone search. I have not had luck historically with headphones. I'm waiting for my headphones to break because I got a replacement for the same pair that broke within like 6 months, you know?
But nowhere near dispositive, right? That, well, if it's a knife case, then it must be an Odinism or Norse killing case. That would not be enough, right, on its own. So it is something we'll consider, but it's definitely not enough on its own to say.
So the idea here, we fake out the whatnot on the first turn so he doesn't get to go. We kill the G-Weezing. So it's my understanding, and I had to like actually take apart the headphones to look at it. Something failed to stay connected. And they're like, oh, this is an easy fix. Just learn how to solder, Lamau. And it's like, yeah, no. It's super frustrating. But so far, these ones have been fine-ish. They are, I think, Bear Dynamic DT770s. And hopefully they don't break anytime soon. Pretty much every single headset that I've had someone recommend me, I get it. They break. I mention it to the person who recommended it. Lamau works for me. And it's like, ugh. Also, how's school going?
All right. Oh, yeah, that must be what's going on.
Save.
Paragraph 10. Dr. Court's testimony revealed that perhaps as many as 4 knives were used. And at least one of those
Fake
knives
out.
may have been serrated, supporting the defense's
Psychic.
belief that multiple Norse pagan Odinists using multiple knives were involved in this
Nice.
case. Furthermore, upon viewing the crime scene photographs that have been admitted into evidence, because now they're in evidence.
So now slacking will be truant. And we want to then focus down the slacking because we do not want him acting. Of course, school isn't fun, but I'm glad it's going relatively well, you know?
Before the jury, there are no obvious drag marks to the naked eye, nor were there any police reports or charts that show drag marks at the crime scene. Even blood spatter expert Pat Cicero admitted that he could observe no
We're
drag
gonna
marks
swap out into Weevil.
Why is this important? Can anybody tell me why this is important?
We are going to go into
the defense explaining this, right?
This again.
As I explained at the beginning, there's going to be a bunch of stuff in this that are going to be facts stacking up and walking us down the line of this was 2 or more people, meaning it wasn't just Richard Allen.
Will
and
kill.
If they're saying he acted alone, then it wasn't Richard Allen at all, is what the defense is going to try to argue. So no drag marks on the bodies where they laid. Everybody seems to admit at this point that this is not where the actual killing took place, but they were taken and placed there. And if there's no drag marks,
Poison jab.
That means either 2 or more people picked them up and put them there, or
Bulk
one
up
person was able
to
to
make
pick up
the
body
rock smash
and
do
move it on
more.
his own. Not dispositive, but I do think tending to prove, right?
That part wasn't, but
does it tend to prove or disprove
Weed
any
Cat.
material fact in the case?
We play rough the Diplin. We rock smash the slacking.
That's what relevant evidence is. It has to be something that tends to prove or disprove a fact in the case.
We play rough the Diplin. We sucker punch the slacking.
For one person to have committed this. So I don't want to get it twisted and say all of this evidence absolutely guarantees.
It's more likely
that is not at all what I'm
that
saying.
a group did this
What we're looking at here is,
with what we know.
Enough? Does this evidence tend to prove or infer something that the defense wants to argue as a third-party culprit defense?
We need to fake out
they should be able to put on that defense.
Tumon.
That's the question we're asking. It's a much lower
We need to fake
bar
out the Talon Wing. We need to fake out the Shiftry.
The fact that there is no evidence of drag marks supports that more than one person was involved in this case, including 2 or more people needed to lift Liberty German's body, explaining why there was no drag marks from where she was killed to where she ultimately was found, supporting the possibility that multiple Norse paganists, Odinists.
Hard to say. There's a lot of really good Pokemon. There's a lot of really cool Pokemon. I remember when I was younger, I really liked Spiritomb because it looked cool. It was very tanky, and it had a pretty fun set of abilities like Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak, You can do like Will o' the Wisp or Toxic with Protect and Leftovers. When I think about this run, toy gun to my head, I'm saying Grimmsnarl, and here's why. Grimmsnarl is Dark Fairy, so it only really has to worry about steal. It has Prankster, which allows priority moves to go first. It can have Sucker Punch, it can have Play Rough, it can have Fake Out, it can have Taunt, and it looks cool. So, yeah.
Present and participating in the
what about you, RJ? Do you have any dark types you like?
Yes. When asked another theory of why the sticks were on the bodies was because of something called an undoing. His testimony is yet another reason provided by the state of Indiana as to why the sticks are on the girls. So that is true. So the state has elicited now two potential opportunities. I shouldn't say opportunities. Two potential explanations as to why the sticks were placed on the girls at their final resting.
Oh yeah, Obstagoon is really cool. It's a honey badger. You can do Guts Facade. It is 4 times weak to fighting, which definitely sucks. But it can get Facade, it can get Return. I used it in Mono Normal because I needed dark coverage. And the fact that it has Obstruct, which is basically -2 defense when... -2 defense to its attacker when it's hit, provided the move makes contact. Really useful. I will likely use Obstagoon in some fights in this. I'm just not sure where. All right.
Take place. That'll be important later. The questioning of the prosecution and the answer of Lieutenant Ullman pertain to yet another explanation and undoing as to why the sticks were found on the girls, and therefore the prosecution opened the door to the defense's alternative theory as to why the sticks were found on the girls.
All right, we're gonna move.
Basically, what the defense is saying, I don't believe
Weed Cat for now.
I could be wrong, and we'll keep reading, and you guys can tell me how you read this, but I don't believe they're saying the undoing specifically means Odinism, but
I think I need a Fighting Berry for this.
They're saying if you're
because Croagunk.
Different reasons for the sticks to be there, we should be able to provide different reasons why we think the sticks are going to be there, and the jury can compare our reasoning with your reasoning and make a decision.
Good for the goose.
Based on the evidence.
Good for the gander.
Or conflicts in the evidence, and these are conflicts in the evidence that are so important. People are saying the crime scene was within 6 feet or so.
So we want to fake out.
There would be drag marks. Brianna said, what about a wheelbarrow?
We want to fake out.
I think, could be wrong, and again, it wasn't the best investigation, and we know it took 7 years or something for them to get this case to trial, so there was a...
So it was important to fake out because Talonflame has an ability called Gale Wings. At full HP, flying moves get priority. So it would cast Tailwind. Tailwind would up the entire enemy's team speed. Shiftry has something called Wind Rider. When hit by a wind move, it negates it. So if it were hit by like Heat Wave, it'd be negated because Heat Wave's a wind move. So it's wind, not flying. But it also would get +1 attack. So Talonflame's Tailwind counts as a flying move. Shiftry takes no damage to it because Wind Rider and the fact that all it is doing is buffing his team. Wind Rider goes into effect, it gets +1 attack. It also has a Focus Sash. So by faking out both the Mon and now by going Prankster Taunt, we prevent Talonflame from getting Tailwind up and we make it easier for Shifter to go down.
A lot going on, a lot of delays in making arrests and things like that, but I don't remember them saying, oh, these are clearly wheelbarrow tracks, which I feel like you would be able to see if that happened, but it could be. Absolutely could be. And this is something the jury should be able to discuss, right, as different options.
No Tailwind. We love that.
Maybe it was multiple people. Maybe it was a wheelbarrow. What does the evidence actually point us to? And the defense thinks they have enough evidence to make this argument.
We're gonna play rough.
That RA only confessed
we're gonna swap out.
Subjected to solitary confinement for 5 months. I believe it was longer than that.
And yes, it's gonna come out from the interview that Pete did with one of the lawyers who's actually sitting and watching the trial. Richard Allen was kept in solitary confinement for 13 months in a row. It doesn't take much solitary confinement to more or less destroy someone's mental state, and that's insane. He was transferred right away to like a maximum security holding facility as well. It's absolutely disgusting how they're treating him.
Talk about some of that at the end of the video. So if there were, wheelbarrow wheel tracks or drag marks or anything like that.
Okay, we want to.
Not saying they have to, but they should have, right? They
play
should
rough.
Have, because they
and we want to psychic to make sure Toxicroak goes down.
And if you can look at the picture,
I messed up. I forgot about poison. Okay. So now we need someone for Electros.
The only explanation is that they were lifted up and put down. Now.
Yeah, no problem. I hope you make a great hot chocolate. I'm gonna have some cider later. It's gonna be hella good.
Okay.
Rock Smash, Psychic.
15. The defense has its own
Sucker Punch.
as to why the sticks are on the girls, and Richard
Ice
Allen has
Shard.
Sixth Amendment right to provide that
Very
theory
good.
to rebut the state of Indiana's
All right,
theories,
now we gotta get ready for this actual fight.
The latest theory that the sticks were related to an
Okay.
undoing. Additionally, blood spatter expert Pat Cicero opined and/or that the prosecution led the jury to believe through questioning that Liberty German was moved to her final resting place to conceal the body. So that seemingly, again, we're not in there, so I'm taking the defense attorney's word here, but it seems like the blood spatter expert agreed with and even testified to the fact that the body was moved to their final resting place. So if it was moved and there is no drag marks, how was it moved? That's a question that the defense finds very important. The prosecution's line of questioning of Pat Cicero was pursued by the prosecution on direct examination.
So we are going to lead
the defense offering alternative theories as to why the body was placed in its final resting place and why the sticks were placed on the girls. The defense's theory that
and we are going to hold air balloon.
Final resting place was related to Norse paganism / Odinism and ritualistic killings. So here's what else I'll say, and probably what Judge Gold, part of what she's going to use is motive is not something that the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and you guys are just fighting motive. And while she's right, fighting motive or saying no motive or lack of motive has won many a criminal defense case. If it just makes no sense that this person would never do it, and you can point to somebody that has more of a motive.
And we're going to grab Sucker Punch for chip damage.
The jury doesn't have to believe it. The jury doesn't have to buy it. The jury is the ultimate decision maker.
And we'll go...
but to not allow them to even make these arguments, it just seems un-American to me.
Agreed.
You're not even allowed to put up your defense.
Defense down.
Richard Allen has it because if the defense, this opens up to, if it's too weird and unbelievable and too big of a conspiracy theory, well then we're not even going to let them argue it to a jury. And it's like, well, the way the world is going today, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, good point.
And from my perspective, if we're going to not allow arguments because judge thinks that it's too weird of a conspiracy theory, that doesn't make me feel real good.
No.
If the jury thinks it and the jury's like, no way too big of a conspiracy theory, throw it away, well, that's the jury's job. The defense believes that both Liberty and Abigail's bodies were placed there because of the desire of the Odinist to pose the body and form the sticks on the body in an arrangement for reasons only understood by the person / people that ended the victim's lives. Dr. P said in his testimony that has testified as to how the sticks would only have meaning to the people who were involved in this case. And again, he testified.
We're gonna use Cacturn.
This is the Dr. P.
Actually, wait.
Is not testimony from the trial. Additionally, the defense expert Dr. P indicated on
yes, we are going to use Cacturn for this. Cacturn for Veluza. I'm immune to water. I'm immune to psychic.
An attempt by the killer or killers to provide dignity to the victims. Hallmark of an undoing is closing of the eyes and mouth of the victims. In this case, the girls' mouths and eyes were open, and one victim was displayed without clothes in an undignified manner. This would be inconsistent with an undoing. The defense should have the opportunity to explain what it believes is an undoing and how the crime scene does not exhibit an undoing. Now that, again, I agree with 100%. If you're going to have somebody testify this might have been an undoing, that's why the sticks were there like that, and you have evidence to say this was absolutely not an undoing, explain to me, like I'm 5, how that's not relevant.
Good point.
Like you're discrediting the state's case, which is, from my perspective, part of your job.
And then we'll give it a fighting berry.
Evidence introduced before and during trial that supports the introduction of third-party subjects Elvis Fields and Brad Holder. On Saturday, October 25th, 2024, during the trial,
Okay,
Holder was asked a question about how many people were involved in this case. Holman offered only one person was involved in this case. After offering
Okay, what else?
that only one person was involved in the killings, Holman offered the following. As part of his reasoning for believing that only one person was involved, based on his training and experience, when more than one person is involved in a crime, there is often a point in time when one of the participants will discuss the crime or reveal the crime, whereas when it is only one person, it is much easier to contain that secret. That was Lieutenant Holman's theory that supported his belief that only one person committed this crime. Since September 18,
We're gonna use Meowscarada because we have
Brad Holder and others. According to Holman's theory,
Protean,
October 25th, 2024,
we can play rough.
If it is true that Elvis and Brad were both involved in the crime, then it is likely that one of them will have admitted to being involved in the crime or providing incriminating statements concerning being at the murder.
And we're gonna hold an Akaberry in case it goes for. Actually, no, we're gonna hold a flying berry in case it goes for drill pack.
If multiple people are involved in the crime, at least one of them will reveal the crime to others. For example, blood spatter expert Pat Cicero.
Well, actually, no, it won't outspeed, so that's not an issue. Never mind.
Lives were ended at the same time. That's another stack, right? Multiple blades.
Yeah, we'll stick to that. Okay. What else?
And that potentially the deaths happened at the same time. How would
we need someone for Infernate.
At the same time, it makes no sense.
I'm probably gonna go.
Which would indicate that more than one person was involved in the crime. Additionally, Pat Cicero also admitted that one explanation for Abigail having no blood on her hands is that while her neck was being cut, someone else was holding her hands down. Okay.
Corfish.
These things are kind of like, okay, probably.
Aquajet adaptability, holding close combat, holding a fighting berry.
That's all they're asking for. Okay. Let us make the argument. Let the jury make the decision. That's all it is. I'm not saying. I mean, they would like to throw the case out, obviously, over this, but at this point, what we're asking for, just let the jury consider this stuff. Let the jury consider this stuff.
So yeah, we're gonna grab Swords Dance.
Law enforcement
we keep Aquajet.
These crimes have interviewed one suspect, Elvis Fields, who asked
what else do we need?
To the state trooper and has connections to those who have incriminating evidence on their social media, as well as
90 accuracy on Crab Hammer. So I don't want to mess with that.
The incriminating stuff on the social media would relate back to Holman saying somebody would spill their guts at some point.
We'll take Razor Shell as a backup, and then we keep Knockoff.
Somebody can spell it in the chat, or you can go to our.
I think it's just Waterstone. Let's see.
Podcast that was 2 days ago on Monday. Check out that video. It has
28.
All the information linked in there. Okay.
Andrea Burkhart. That was the first interview that he did with someone about Delphi.
Therefore, evidence exists that multiple people were involved in this crime, rendering all purported alibis as suspect due to the ability for the ringleader to claim an alibi, while others are doing his bidding in terms of abducting the victims. Brad Holder's first alibi, for example, would allow him to be
crit immunity is nice, but adaptability will make Aquajet hit a lot harder.
Victims and held them awaiting Holder. So again, some of the defense theories have holes. Yes. Oh, of course he has an alibi because somebody else was doing his bidding.
Yes, of course.
From my perspective, if the state was going to argue that about the criminal defendant, we'd be like, it would be stronger evidence if the criminal defendant that's on trial was actually there at the time of the crime.
I still need someone for Kangaskhan, which is actually kind of scary. Let's think about this.
We're not talking about proving this case beyond a reasonable doubt. In the defense, I should say. We're not talking about proving the defense beyond a reasonable doubt. In 2018, law enforcement pulled Elvis Fields in for questioning at the Rushville Police Department. At the end of the interview, they took Elvis's DNA and then explained to Elvis their reason for taking his DNA. At the conclusion of the interview, Trooper Kevin Murphy drove Elvis back to his home. After the trooper dropped Elvis off,
I could go Scrafty.
Turned around, approached Kevin Murphy's car. After getting close to Trooper Murphy's vehicle, Elvis asked Trooper Murphy, "If my spit is found on one of the girls, but I have an explanation for it, would I still be in trouble?" Okay. Alarm bells should be going off when you hear things like this. This is not the first time I've heard this.
Yeah.
I don't think he's referencing specifically evidence that came out of trial. I think this is stuff they had before. Because it didn't say, Lieutenant Holder said this in trial. But a very weird thing to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Super weird.
By somebody who probably spit on their bodies.
I think I'm going to use Goofus for this.
Also,
we're going to hold a Paraberry.
Seems like if I was playing devil's advocate here,
because it's
like
gonna body slam.
I didn't actually do this, but I did spit on him. Right? You can argue that too. Point is, very weird. And
fake out.
Definitely something the defense should be able to
play rough.
You better believe if Richard Allen would have said
I'm gonna keep those.
To that effect, the jury.
And I also do need another fighter for redundancy.
He vehemently denied.
So that's probably gonna be Urshifu.
But that is a very weird and creepy statement. DNA analyst Stacy Bozanovsky testified at the end of her cross-examination.
Also with a para.
Spit can be analyzed for DNA.
Break over rock smash.
Supports that Elvis Fields was mimicking Brad Holder, who lived 125 miles away and should have no ties to Elvis Fields' Facebook posts, or that Brad Holder was mimicking Elvis Fields' Facebook posts before the victims were abducted. So all this really tells me is they feel like they can prove that they're connected. Elvis Fields has claimed under oath that Brad Holder was actually mimicking Facebook posts that Elvis Fields had posted. Brad Holder's son, Logan, was dating Abby Williams, and Brad Holder had
I'm also going to grab Thunderwave
on his social media that no one else should know.
Over
125 miles away, Elvis Fields, who seemingly would have no reason to know Brad Holder
over taunt, because I already have an answer to Orthworm, so this would be T-Wave the Kangaskhan.
Being involved in this case, including expectation of the possibility that
you're good.
Spit might be found on the girls. I mean, that's wild,
you're
right?
good.
Not close together, 125 miles apart.
You're good.
These connections with son dating.
That doesn't need to change still. Okay.
These two being connected, Facebook posts mimicking each other, them all talking about it.
We go adamant.
Like what Holman said. If multiple people are involved,
Goofus is fine.
They'll let something slip.
Urshifu is fine.
Were they letting things slip?
All right, we're gonna save. We're gonna go team.
Yeah, and there we go. They ultimately revealed the crime. Additionally, evidence from Brad Holder's social media supported the concept that others assisted him in committing the crime and moving the bodies, as Holder posted a meme on his Facebook page a few days after their lives were ended, and the theme and words from the meme have become more important.
So I recognize that I know more about this case than the average person does. I probably realize I have more information even than some of the jurors would, because the jurors only know what they're being told. They are not entirely seeing all these documents, these motions, etc. So, if I know, as a layperson who might be a juror, knowing he's been in solitary for 13 months, knowing how the judge has been leaning regarding motions, favoring the prosecution, knowing that there was only a 19-minute window, when I think about reasonable man standard, which, you know, it comes down to what the average person would reasonably think, have they created enough reasonable doubt? In my opinion, they have. Sylvie, thank you for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your evening. Good luck with the homework and the chicken. Take care. But yeah, so knowing what I know, I would be very hard pressed to be like, by the way, he's guilty. What would make me think he's guilty is it, he confessed 61 times. And I knew nothing about the solitary for 13 months. Because you have to remember, the defense doesn't have to prove motive. The defense doesn't have to prove he didn't do it. The prosecution has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he did it. And it's a very high burden.
Due to the testimony that has been elicited during trial. And it's really important for the defense to keep saying, if you think they're being repetitive.
Okay, good.
About saying testimony elicited at the time of the trials, because they're saying, Judge, you need to reconsider your prior ruling because we know more now. And that's important. And we're not saying they are saying you were wrong before.
So the idea here, we go Scorching Sands and we bait the Orthworm. It stays in. Boo. We do it again. In comes Orthworm. This is fine because we are going to be able to go first. We're going to Flamethrower and it's gonna make the earthworm be a non-issue. So I don't like that. I don't like that Nido King is still up because sheer force life orb goes burr, but I like that one down. Kangaskhan, this is random move. I'm going to swap out into welcome back, RJ. I was just saying that average layperson hearing the facts of the case, if I'm on the jury, the prosecution hasn't proved it, especially if I'm allowed to know that there was only a 19-minute window and this is a lot for one person to do in 19 minutes. How's the hot chocolate? Also, the fact that he was kept in solitary for 13 months. The burden that the prosecution has to prove is so much higher. And if it's not enough, I don't know if Indiana is lesser included. So, for example, in the Black Swan murder trial, aka Ashley Benfield, they weren't able to prove it was murder, but because it was Florida, it allowed lesser included charges, and they convicted her on manslaughter, which was really easy to prove because they weren't debating whether she actually had the gun, whether she was abused, whether she killed him. It was why she killed him.
But from the judge's perspective, judges don't like to admit being wrong before, so it's like, I was right at the time, but now that there's more evidence, I'll change my decision. According to blood spatter expert Pat Cicero, Libby German's 200-pound body was in fact
we fake out. We thunderwave.
I think can be moved by one person.
Annoying because parental bond.
It's obviously easier moved.
We're going to sucker punch.
So again, tending
Para,
to
huge.
Prove a certain fact. I think could tend to prove it's more likely.
Okay,
that
I don't like that,
there's some reasonable doubt there,
but I can
again,
make this work.
This makes it an impossibility that it was one person. Also, pursuant to the blood spatter expert, there were no drag marks that could be seen.
Kangaskhan down.
Therefore, evidence supports that Libby's body.
Okay, Infernape, I don't think it sees a kill yet, so it probably is going to go Swords Dance. So we are going to go into Crawdaunt. Yep, Swords Dance is fine. We are going to Aqua Jet. Unfortunate. I was hoping the berry would let me live. So knowing that, now we go into Urshifu and we sucker punch. Veluza, I'm immune to the one. I think it goes Fillet away. So I'm gonna go into Cacturn. It went Aqua Cutter. Okay, I was able to read that. We go Spiky Shield because contact moves will reduce it. Okay, so that didn't happen. We're gonna go Sucker Punch. It goes into Honk Crow, which makes sense. We go Spiky Shield again because contact. Very nice. We want to then go... It's probably gonna go Drill Peck again. So we go Weed Cat. I was holding the wrong berry. I hate that for us. So we're gonna go Spiky Shield again. Sucker Punch. Nowhere near enough. I do not love that. I messed this up. I hate that for us. Like, that was actually really good until it turns out my answer for Honk-Crow was dead. So I think we can beat that.
Body was moved from one location to another, and that 2 or more people would have been needed to carry the body since no drag marks existed. Certainly, it would be highly unlikely that one man could accomplish that task. I tend to disagree. I'm not the strongest, biggest guy in the world, but I will say I could carry a 200-pound body if I really needed to. I would hope that I wouldn't, but I think I could, based on some workouts that maybe have similar movements to them. And Sleuthy brings up a good point. 5'4", 150-pound man.
I'm going to need to hold a different berry if I go that route. Okay.
The jury's looking at him in the courtroom. All reports are that he's much sicklier and skinnier looking now than he was at the time of the crime. Which, if the state, and to make the state make that argument, right, and maybe they'll say something like Sleuth, he said, oh, he was much bigger back then.
Get some chip damage in.
Yeah, you're right. He's much skinnier.
Go into Goofus.
Unhealthy.
Fake out into Play Rough.
Sickly looking now because of what you guys have done to him while he's been presumed innocent.
Good points all around.
You should go and let them know what you saw that day. Richard, I don't know. Wife, there's nothing to worry about. What could
Nothing
go wrong?
to worry about.
So
yeah, okay.
Right, and it's a dang shame because these girls deserve true justice. I mean,
fake out or random move. We're going to go into...
Is what happened to these two little girls. And now the way it's playing out, if it was Richard Allen, to me, they have slopped out all over this case with the investigation and how they prosecuted it and how they're doing this trial.
C-bomb again.
Really pisses me off.
It's close to dead, I think.
As a Norwegian, it's sad to see an important part of our past and culture mentioned in the context of such a horrible crime. Yeah, Ninny, and
Thunderwave.
Right, and this might not.
This probably kills.
But
it does not.
Bad people.
That is not okay.
Are either
okay
or indifferent or not bad on their own, or could be seen as culture or tradition. They can take it and twist it, and the media will, do one thing or another to make everybody ever associate with that seem bad.
It's kind of okay.
The case. So this is an isolated thing with this
Spiky
case
Shield.
It's coming out about this, and I hope people don't connect it back to all Norwegians like yourself. And we would never do that.
I forgot that it didn't make contact.
Guilty, but blaming pagans is so 1600. Honestly, I think what they're doing. Here's what would be my take on it: is more than just blaming all pagans or blaming all Odinists or whatever, Norwegians, whatever it may be.
Okay. Interesting that it stayed
what
in.
I think they're saying is we think it's these two guys, and we think one of the reasons we know and what their motive is based on how they set up the crime scene,
Thunderwave,
and therefore it connects and locks in
swap
these two guys, or these two or more guys, this group of people.
Urshifu.
That's what I think they're doing. I don't think they're trying to paint with broad strokes here.
Brick break.
Discrediting the state's case.
Brick break. Huge.
Discrediting the state's case isn't allowed. The judge will allow him to attack witness credibility. And
break the sash.
Cara Zola. I do not understand how this. If this is
Aquajet, very nice.
Like
this is a problem because it's gonna be able to shed tail. So I'm gonna knock off the berry.
Is not relevant.
Okay, not
That's
great.
Like the number one most relevant thing: bias and impeachment on cross-examination. It would be so hard to sit down in your chair as a defense attorney.
I think I gotta get some damage in. Aquajet.
Julie.
Aquajet.
Zach Anderson was not allowed third-party defense either, but Denny rule falls
Fake
if
out.
you apply. Fails if you apply it to Zach. Seems like burden shifting to me. The prison Allen was held has been sued for 8th Amendment violations. Can't imagine why. I've also heard it's getting shut down. I don't know.
I'm not familiar with Zach Anderson.
You can't just point the finger at random people. There's got to be evidence that you can infer from, and
random move because low HP.
Burdens that you have to do to get there. Are the courts this secretive or just this judge? I want to say just this judge.
Okay.
I shouldn't say just.
Spiky Shield.
Some courts and judges are, most are not in our country.
Sucker
I think we
Punch.
need to keep going more in that direction.
It has nothing that can hit me. Oh, it's just gonna fillet away. Yeah, that works.
All
right, nicely done. So now we're gonna take on the spooky ghost. Yoink, thank you. We dig out so we don't have to fight the rest of them.
Additionally, the evidence previously provided to this court in the Franks memo, as well as admitted into evidence on August 1st, provided proof that Elvis Fields did not have an alibi that could be substantiated.
Save. But
quite the opposite. Elvis Fields' alibi is sketchy, and his version of his whereabouts on February 13, 2017 runs counter to those who allegedly were with him on that day. In other words, no one could keep their story straight about Elvis's whereabouts on February 13, 2017.
That's fun.
So clearly, they would want to point the finger at him, talk about how he's got a sketchy alibi, things like that. And
once we're at Sabrina, we have access to all the Megastones. So it's not a huge deal, but I'm going to grab it now in case I want to use Mega Sableye.
Back at trial testimony leaves the jury under the mistaken belief that no evidence exists, that multiple persons were involved in this case, and that no other steps are...
King David, thank you for the follow. I hope you're doing well. Crime coverage, Pallas Cats, Pokemon, This is Mono Dark in Rad Red 4.1. We're about to clear out the Pokemon Tower, and we just beat Giovanni. Lori, you know, is breaking down the Delphi, Indiana case. Richard Allen, the defendant, has gotten a really, like, raw deal, not being treated well at all. Was in solitary for 13 months. Gave 61 confessions. It doesn't take much time in solitary to absolutely lose your fucking mind. And they're not, the state, i.e. the judge, is not allowing the third-party defense, which would be this was an Odinist cult ritualistic killing.
Suspects have made any statements that inculpates them in the crimes, thus supporting Lieutenant Holman's theory that when multiple people are involved in a crime, at least one of them will ultimately reveal the crime.
True.
So, again, this would be an example of Holman said something. Holman said something to the jury. Holman explained it as a fact to the jury, and now it's evidence because his testimony is evidence.
Ah, how convenient.
We want to present evidence in our case, Judge.
And we're not allowed to.
The defense's case is a response to the state's case and the presentation of our case. We want to respond to Holman's testimony that is now evidence in front of this jury that there's no evidence.
Yeah, they're not allowed to. That's why it's opening the door.
That made inculpating statements. And I don't know the totality of his testimony. If he was saying, yeah, I interviewed Elvis, if they were even allowed to talk about it, but he wasn't a suspect.
Sucker Bunch.
That would be contradicting something that
there you go. Yoink.
The state presented as evidence.
We grab Will-O-Wisp down there.
At the time of his October 26, 2024 testimony, Lieutenant Holman was fully aware that evidence existed that Elvis Fields made inculpatory statements concerning being present at the scene and at the time that the victims were
inculpatory
killed. At the time of his
that would be something that would be like, hey, point the finger at me. Whereas exculpatory would be, oh, I'm making this statement, it's going to prove that I have an alibi, that it couldn't be me type thing.
For 26, 2024 testimony, Holman was fully aware that the evidence existed at Elvis Fields of Rushville, Indiana, had a connection with Brad Holder from Logansport.
All right,
Indiana,
we're gonna level up our mom.
Law enforcement investigation showed that Brad Holder and Elvis were mimicking one another on Facebook. At the time of his trial testimony, Holman was fully aware that evidence existed. Brad Holder's son Logan.
No crowd hammer. We don't like that it can miss.
None of this is a surprise. He knew about all this. We need to present this to the jury.
Okay.
Period. End of story.
Close combat over brick break, absolutely. No focus punch.
Holman was fully aware Brad Holder had evidence on his social media consistent with signatures.
Cons 4 is interesting, but I'm good.
That looked eerily similar to the way
no sandstorm
were posed on the ground.
Not yet, at least.
And photographs of sticks laid.
Okay.
We're going to jump to the other 2 pages.
No.
Laid down on the ground in a similar pattern of sticks found on Abby's body in the form of hand-drawn pattern on the wrist of
knock
Brad
off
Holder.
Huge.
Among
Flower trick over seed bomb.
A post about real friends
no leaf storm.
Move bodies.
That's the meme they were talking about, I think.
Does this mean beyond a reasonable doubt it was Brad Holder?
Fiery Wrath. No. It's basically upgraded Dark Pulse.
But it sure as heck seems like enough to present to the jury to let them consider the contradictions in this evidence.
I agree with Pete.
And the holes in this evidence.
If the prosecution is allowed to include evidence to prove A, B, and C, I believe the defense has the right to present evidence that disproves A, B, and C. That's why it's the foot in the door. But per the Sandra Lee, Lawyer Lee, because it's Sandra Burkhart, that was the one from 2 weeks ago.
I'm just not following why
the judge does not see it that way yet. And that's not surprising, considering there have been other actions from the judge that very much paints a bias in a certain way.
And I'm really struggling to find
And I hate that,
explanation on
because
this.
he's innocent until proven guilty, no matter
At the
what
time
you
of
think of
testimony,
him.
Holman was aware Odinist Norse paganists had been investigated and being involved in this case. So other officers actually looked into this, and we read more about this in the prior motion that we read way back when. But this wasn't something the defense just made up. It's something that had some legitimate connections to the case, even if it didn't end up resulting in an arrest. And just okay, in case anybody doesn't know this.
There you go.
This is one of the
Nicely
reasons
done.
that cops don't like to make everybody a suspect and bring a bunch of different people in and interrogate them and say, you did it, you did it, you did it. Because we as defense attorneys can get a lot of those files. They're public record. They're part of the case file.
Rightfully so.
Hide them and put them under a different case number and
fake
get
out
them somewhere else like they did in Alec Baldwin's case.
Yeah, that was wild.
You told Mr. Johnson you knew he did it. You told Mr. Jones
play
you
rough.
knew he did it.
Play rough.
And then you ended up arresting Mr. Smith. Well, guess who we think
fake
did it?
out.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Jones. So we're going to tell the jury Mr. Johnson and Mr. Jones, and you know what evidence we're going to use? The evidence you had against them.
Knock off.
That happens all the time.
This is not
All
ideal.
the time.
Spiky shield.
At the time
on.
of testimony, Holman was aware that both Brad Holder and Elvis Fields possessed knives, and that Brad Holder used knives as part of Odinism
Knock
religion.
off.
At the time of his testimony,
Swords
Holman
dance,
was aware, or should have been
Aquajet.
aware that Holder possessed a
There
40
you go.
caliber handgun. And again, they're saying the bullet matches
Hooray!
Richard Allen's, but
Thank you.
they're gonna argue
Now
that's
we
kind of
can
jump science.
start
You can't really know because
Silphco
it wasn't actually fired
by
in the markings.
prepping
The
for
way
the
they
rival
actually-
battle.
If you listen to Andrew explain it, she do.
We'll also pick up the rest of this tomorrow. So we're gonna work on prepping for Rival and Silphco. It's gonna be a real hoot and a holler, if you will. Let's see. There, that's better. All right. So we started with a grass type. Rival has Charmander, so it's gonna be this team. We want to lead with Special Rock. We want to hold a Chipotle Berry because that close combat's gonna hurt really hard. We want a Fire type for King Gambit. We want someone with safety goggles for Jump Bluff. We want Poison for Azumarill. We want Rock or something else for Charizard. So let's start prepping this. All right, go back to that. All right, we're gonna put people away. Beldum, because he's easy to have to get things like all the items, aka Sylvester and Focus Ash. Thank you. And thank you. Don't care because we can't use it. It's just for a few things. Then we go back to Viridian so we can have them as a quote-unquote follower Pokemon. Now let's have safety goggles. Thank you. Once we get there, we're gonna save because it's been a minute. I don't feel like redoing all that. Save. Thank you, safety goggles. Now we go back to Saffron. We are gonna grab Psychic from Mr. Psychic's house. Apparently we already grabbed it. Good. I think 59. I'm not sure. Let's see. No, it's 59, I think, after ABGO. Okay. So we want... That's not ideal. will outspeed, but I don't think I have fake out yet, which is kind of an issue. Let's see. Also, I'll get hit by intimidate, which is really annoying. No fake out. Okay, so we're gonna lead with feline prowess, Meowth, aka Persian, and we're doing that because we'll fake out to make it flinch, then we can power gem to destroy it. And we'll hold a, let's see. I don't want to be outsped here. Okay, good. So we'll hold a Chipotle Berry. No, 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 no. Okay. So yeah, Chipotle Berry, we swap. We don't need Cacturn. We want to grab... Hold on. Where are you? I feel very silly right now. Oh, Houndoom, there we go. Okay. So, yep, we grab Houndoom specifically for King Gambit. We are going to grab... Sneasler for the Jumpluff with safety goggles so he can be put to sleep. We do outspeed, so that's good. I'm gonna go attack up because Ice Shard does not do a lot of damage. But in case we don't get a clean swap, I need to hold the safety goggles so I don't get put to sleep. Poison Jab will probably be okay. Let's see if it gets a rock move. We keep Sucker Punch since it's a good way to deal with some Mon that do outspeed. Alright, since I know I outspeed, I can use the Ice Punch. Okay. Oh, Shadow Claw's not bad. Oh, I don't have Sucker Punch, right, so... Punishment... Actually, I will do Shadow Claw. We have enough dark coverage that I think I can get away with not having dark on one Mon, you know? Okay, I need someone with rock coverage. Well, rock, because that'll be useful against what's-his-face. Against, Charizard. Okay. How fast Charizard? Charizard is 100. I think I can beat that if I go speed up. Alright. We'll go Jolly. We will hold... I'm gonna bank on the Focus Blast missing. And I'm gonna hold a Rindo Berry for the Solar Beam. Okay. Because in the sun it will do, it'll insta-cast. Okay. We might not be fast enough now that I think about it. That's actually awkward. So I'm gonna wanna bring it back up for Crocodile then. Yeah, Rock Slide, Crunch, Power Up Punch. It's not a double battle, so we can absolutely grab Earthquake instead of Bad Tantrum. So we do want a backup to deal with that. We're gonna bring Goofus as a backup. We can Fake Out, we can Thunder Wave, we can Sucker Punch. All those things are valid. So then the last thing we would need is poison something to deal with the Azumarill. It's gonna be Stunky because Azumarill is more defensive than not. So special will be our answer there. And it doesn't have a Lumberry, so we can Toxic. And it's gonna wanna probably go Liquidation as its strongest move. So we are going to do a Citrus Berry on it. We're just double checking the team, then starting tomorrow we'll clean out Silphco, we'll beat Sabrina, and we'll start the weather route. So that's fine. That's fine. Pressure can change. That's fine. That's fine. We are gonna change Aftermath. Okay. Now that I have Dream Patches, I have access to some better moves. Nope, we keep Aftermath apparently. Infiltrator, it lets you hit behind things like Protect and Substitute. Very useful. And we're actually gonna go Defense Up, since Azumarill is a physical attacker. It'll be Defense Up, Attack Down. Bold, there you go. So you're good, Jester. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. That's fine. Yeah, that'll do. We want to lead with Feline Prowess. We're going to get there. We're also going to grab our Hidden Power now because that's quite useful in certain fights. You go to the quickest way to do Silphco. You go to floor 9. You dodge him. Fake out into Power Gem. So you dodge him. You fail to dodge him because he always manages to turn around. Go back to 9. Fake out into Power Gem. Snarl. Go into the Goofus with the Fake Out, with the Play Rough. You talk to her and she heals you. You love it. You fight this guy because you have to. Fake Out into Weevil. Swap into Goofus. Fake Out into Play Rough. Play Rough again. And there you go, Rival Battle. We heal. We save. We find a Pallas Cat video to wrap up on. And then we take on finding someone to raid. But starting tomorrow, we 100% will be taking on Silphco. And that'll be a good bit of fun for the family, you know? All right, let's see what we have for Pallas Cats. Checking the old Pallas Cat mines. Since we know RJ is a big fan of Polly, this is a video from Nasu Animal Kingdom of Bull and Polly. You can absolutely tell which one is which, but I'll point it out. That's Bull. He loves his stump. He's a very... So, it's hard to say, but I feel like on the Monolith Cord, i.e. Cult of Pallas Cat Discord, there is Pallas Cat content every day, and some of it's new. Also, that's Polly. She's so angry. She looks like a giant angry dandelion. That's also Polly. That's Bull, I think. We'll know when they get on the log. I guess a really succinct way to put it would be, every day I go on Monolith Cord, I see new Pallas Cat content that I've never seen before. So it's more than often enough, which I love. And yeah, they are absolutely loafs. Fully grown, they're 4 to 5 kilograms. This is in winter, so they're in their winter coats. Absolute chonkers. And they're so gorgeous. Polly got her eye on Bull. She's not pleased. And he's like, I'm just gonna nope out of here. I don't feel like dealing with that. Oh, I love the orange Pete's and the orange on the face. So majestic. I have one more Polly video that we can look at. That was from Monolization, i.e. Roman Pavlov. He has a lot of content of the Pallas Cats in Japan and Russia. I think you'll appreciate this one. This is Bull and Polly having a synchronized scritches. Let's see if I can find the specific video. I always have a hard time telling by the thumbnail. Where are you? Oh, this is a fun one until I find it. The classic no-neck Polly. Absolutely looks like a Lovecraftian horror. Where are you? I'm actually not able to find it. So I'll go with a video of Bull and Polly. Polly is more or less harassing Bull, and all he has to do is get tall, and she's like, oh, mistakes were made, you know? Let's see. It's a classic. It's gonna be Polly on the left, as you can see. I don't know what's being said. She's gonna attack Bull because she likes to start shit. It doesn't go well for Polly. So you've been warned. And that's what they do in the wild when they need to look scary. They just get really tall. And it definitely seems to be working for Polly. She'd just be like, oh, I have made a bad choice. I was unaware. I mean, if you want my opinion, when Polly is actually being nice to Bull, that's her being based. I don't see her basically committing domestic violence as very based. I'm a survivor of DV, so, you know. But, yeah, I can definitely understand that you would think she would be based from that. We also have Polly going in for the kill on some food. Bull's gonna be in the background. Polly comes in from the left. She is very food driven. And then we have one more of Polly when she meets the seal for the first time. She's doing window wiping. It's adorable. I love when they stand on their hind legs like that. They look like a fat meerkat, you know? And all this takes place at the Nasu Animal Kingdom in Japan. All right, we're gonna find someone to raid now. RJ, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed Pokemon crime coverage in Pallas Cats featuring Polly. VOD friends and lurkers, hope you enjoyed the stream. RJ, good luck with the headphone search. I'm sure you'll find a sufficient pair in time because headphones are quite useful. I hope you continue to do well in school and that the new job isn't too much for you to juggle. VOD friends, lurkers, hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for stopping by. We are going to find someone to raid now. Yeah, no problem, RJ. Don't worry about it. And I much appreciate those kind words. So let's see who's actually playing Pokemon right now. That's kind of important. Okay. I found someone that we can raid. All right, let's see. Let me pull it up. Burp. For anyone who doesn't know, I stream every Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern through 8 p.m. Eastern. Crime coverage, Pokemon, Pallas Cats. I would like to finish Mono Dark this week, and I may take a break from Pokemon and I'll play something else. I'm not sure yet. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you all tomorrow.